shutdown hasn't been, completed yet. It hasn't been stopped. So, air traffic controls, they have to eat too. They got to work. So many of them calling in sick, and they're doing Uber jobs, and because they got to feed their families.
Wow. I tell you, so, and that's what's happening here on this particular Veterans Day, the 11th of November, and it's 2025. So thank you for your time, Carl. I could go on and on, but we've got your illustrious guests waiting and standing by. I'll let you do the introductions.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. And unfortunately, to introduce somebody who doesn't need an introduction, a Baltimore activist, Dr. Haki Ammi. Grand Rising, Dr. Haki. Welcome back to the program.
Yes, sir. Grand Rising, Brother Carl. It's great to be back. Good to hear my brother Kevin. Happy Veterans Day to all who have served, if I may, including myself. So, I'm going to try to get me some free food today, Kevin.
Me too. Why not?
Yeah, do let Dr. Baruch know that I'll drive down there for that. Sure.
And also, we got Bernard with us, Bernard Sims. Grand Rising, Bernard.
Grand Rising, Brother Carl, Brother Haki. Good to be on your show this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
You fellas are doing something real good for the brothers in Baltimore. Tell us about it, Dr. Haki.
Well, let me let Brother Bernard, open up with this. He has been, working with Associated Black Charities, and I'm proud to be a supporting cast on this. And I think it's, this is his second, third year, so I'll let him open up and, really even expand on what, Associated Black Charities is. You've had the CEO, Chrissy Thornton, on some while ago. Maybe have to have her back. I mean, she's, amazing, and that team is amazing. But Brother Bernard Sims is, truly handling this men's night out. And so I'll allow him to open, and I'll just kind of, add on, sprinkle in there. So thank you.
All right, 13 at the top. Bernard, how did this come about, the men's night out?
So thank you, Brother Carl. Thank you, Brother Haki. So men's night out was born about 3 years ago at Associated Black Charities, where I'm proud to serve as a Senior Director of Culture and Community. And so for those who may not know about Associated Black Charities, we are a racial equity organization, and we work as an educator and advocate and supporter and convener to address some of the barriers that are created by institutional structural racism by providing long-term solutions and opportunities for Black people to thrive. So that's kind of who we are. We're a 40-year-old organization that was founded right here in Baltimore by a group of area faith leaders and businessmen and women who started this great organization. And today we're still leading the charge to do things to help Black families and our Black community. And so Men's Night Out is one of those empowerment programs where we come together with the brothers. This is our third year, and we're really excited about it. The theme this year is Iron Sharpens Iron. Some of our listeners may know that title from the Bible, but we also are looking at this from a perspective when Black men come together to lead, lift, and learn from one another. So that's the overarching theme. And so we're really excited to have some dynamic speakers for our panel and a dynamic keynoter here from Baltimore, Mr. Dante Winslow. We're just really excited. So Dr. Haki is one of our panelists, along with Robert Ginyard, and with one of our other panelists, D. Watkins. A lot of folks know D. Watkins from his work with some advocacy in the city, and We Own the City. He was one of the writers on that, as Dante was also one of the gentlemen who worked on the musical score. And Robert Ginyard is an ambassador for prostate cancer. He goes all over the world and country and talking about that. And we have a really great moderator, Kurt Sykes, who runs the Seed School. So we got a fantastic panel. It's going to be a great night. We have Class Act Catering, Jimmy Britton, doing the food. We'll have some great resource vendors there. So it's going to be an exciting time for men. And it is this Friday, November 14th at 5:30 at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum. So if folks are interested in registering, they can go to our website, www.associatedblackcharities.org, men's night, and they can register and be in the place on Friday.
All right, 16 at the top of our family. That's Bernard Sims along with Dr. Haki Ammi. They have a men's night out in Baltimore. So, fellas, what are some of the major problems that you guys see that's facing black men today?
So I'll take that again, too, Brother Carl. So when we first started out Men's Night Out, we focused on 3 areas. That was health, wealth, and self. And we saw that from a perspective where these are 3 major areas that men should focus on, but also 3 major areas that men really don't talk about. And so we were able to open up kind of the gap for men to express themselves and really be authentic. And they were in a safe space to talk about their health, to talk about finances, and talk about their self, their mental health. So we had great professionals in the room, on the panel, who were also addressing these 3 areas. So those are some of the items I think that men are also facing. And then we move to the power of brotherhood, just coming together. We see that sometimes it's really hard for black men to come together, to trust one another, to work together. And we have to, we have to do away with that. We have to be able to collaborate, work together. So I'm so happy to be working with Dr. Haki and brothers like him around the city. And then, iron sharpens iron. We got to be willing to lead, and we got to be willing to lift one another up, especially our young brothers out there. And we have to be willing to learn from one another. So those are kind of some of the things that I think black men are facing these days.
All right, hold that thought right there. We're going to step aside for a few moments. When we come back, tell us how young these young brothers that you're trying to reach, how are you, how are you trying to achieve that? Family, you just waking up with us. It's 17 minutes after the top there with our guest, Dr. Haki Ammi, and also Bernard Sims from Baltimore. They're having the men's night out. They're going to discuss some of the problems facing our brothers in Baltimore. What are your thoughts? 800-450-7876 will get you in, and we'll take your phone calls next. And Grand Rising family, thanks for waking up with us on this Tuesday morning, 21 minutes after the top there with our guest from Baltimore, Dr. Haki Ammi, and also Bernard Sims. They're having a men's night out, and they're inviting all brothers in Baltimore to attend this event. And before we left for the break, my question to Bernard was, what age group are you looking to, and what are you using? What sort of techniques are you using to attract young men to this meeting?
So we're looking for young men between the ages of 12 and 17. For the past couple of years, we have worked with the Baltimore Collegiate School for Young Boys, and that's one of our partners. And so we look to invite these young men and others from around the city to come to this event and to also hear from some of the brothers on the panel. We've had pretty good success of having young men come out to this event every year. We also tap into some of the other strong male organizations around Baltimore, like Black Professional Men, having their young men come out. We've reached out to Kappa Alpha Psi this year to bring young men from their God Right program. So we're reaching out to the various organizations, male organizations, to also bring the chapters of their young men to this event as well.
Got you. 22 at the top there. Mark is joining us from Baltimore. He's on line 6. Grand Rising, Mark. You're on with Dr. Haki Ammi and Bernard Sims.
Yes, good morning, gentlemen. By the way, wish you and all your listeners a meaningful Veterans Day observance today. This sounds a very good idea, and it's important to get our young people together in a positive way to learn about the culture, the African American culture, and how to be good men and good leaders in our families, in our communities. So my question is, have you thought about maybe there may be some issues that, you can't just it's good to have a social night out and to meet one another, but have you thought about some sort of retreat, maybe next year or maybe a year after, where in addition to socializing and all, but maybe get together, have workshop or speakers to help learn how to strengthen the family and communities together, to talk about different issues and all that? Have you thought of some sort of retreat, either in addition to an annual night out or expanding from it, or what do you think? Thank you.
If I may, but thank you, Brother Mark, and shalom to you, brother. Always good to see you out in the community. Carl, and let me just say, I didn't mention, so I'm actually here in Massanutten, Virginia, and I'm actually at a retreat. This is more unisex. It's more women than men here. We got 3 brothers here, instructors, and but that has been part of my vision for quite some time. And let me just share. Many people know I got my name from Haki Ammi, and one of his books, Black Men, Single, Dangerous, Obsolete, where one of his chapters is called Corners that were made for black men to stand on. And I always talk with Brother David Miller. Well, not always, but I always raise this as a sense of purpose or goal that Haki Ammi, he theorized about how many black men in urban environments, they need time away, or they need like a type of training, like a boot camp type of training. And that's been a part of my analysis. I always talk to Dr. Bunley, about it. And, and it's taken years to, cultivate this. I mean, and not that we're able to get like everyone every time. And actually, I was just at another brunch, and shout out to Brother Ray Davis and Richard Rowe, Brother Olamina, and David Miller, and a few others. We had a lunch at Collins Black Restaurant just this past Sunday, which kind of leading up into this. And so, I mean, Mark is certainly on point, and, I appreciate that question, and coincidence that I'm here in Massanutten, Virginia right now on a retreat 7-day, but I'll be back Wednesday. But I mean, that's a part of what, Brother Haki Ammi theorized need to happen. And he suggested having some drill sergeants and coaches and former military, retired police, retired professors, retired teachers, all types of people to come together to enhance these one-time things that we do. But hopefully something at this particular event on Friday can spark like a curiosity. And this is the key, how we communicate to young people. I still recall experiences that I've had that, 40 years ago, where somebody said something to me that changed my life, that changed my consciousness in terms of which direction I need to go. And so we have to find a delicate balance between the one time, speaking and meeting young people where they are, and then, getting young people outside of Baltimore and out in the community, outside of the communities. So good question. Thank you, Brother Carl. I'll let Bernard if he wants to add in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. It's something that we had, I'll be honest, we had not thought about at Associated Black Charities, but I definitely think it's a great idea. But to that point, to Haki's point, I mean, there are brothers like Haki, David Miller, some of the other giants that he named around Baltimore who have done these type of events around Maryland and around other states. So I think the exposure for young black men is great for them to, get out of the city and see other things, explore nature, maybe fishing, whatever those things may be, just to be able to enjoy other sceneries besides what we see and hear in Baltimore all the time, sirens and ambulance and police cars. I mean, there are other opportunities that young black men definitely need to see. So a retreat, I think it's a great idea. But, I would definitely see how we could, maybe partner with some other organizations that might be currently doing these type of retreats and maybe funnel young people towards that.
Right. And I'll just add a real quick call, and Brother David, appreciate his work. And I know y'all are tight, Brother Bernard, and he actually spoke last year. He was one of the panel speakers last year at this men's night out. And so, it was kind of good, to really watch, and scholars like himself. And, it was just a good bonding that, I was there with them this weekend. And so, but yeah, man, no, thank you, Bernard.
All right, 30 minutes at the top there, family. Just waking up, I guess, the Dr. Haki Ammi from Baltimore, along with Bernard Sims. They're having a men's night out in Baltimore on Friday. Bernard, when you first decided to do this, did you get any pushback from the sisters and the women wondering why black men need to have these solo events and not include them?
Absolutely not. And I'll be honest, I did not get any pushback. Because I was advocating for this event when we first started it, because we also offer Women on the Move. That's an event that we also host annually for the sisters here in Baltimore with great panelists and speakers. So for many years leading up, and this was prior to the former administration, I'd asked, how can we do something for men? How can we start a male empowerment series for men? So we tested something that really went well. It was on a very small scale. And then when new leadership came in under Chrissy Thornton, she loved the idea, and we just went forward. So it's just been nothing but great support from the sisters, because, again, they also have a really great event that we do every year that's coming up on December the 5th, Women on the Move, and that also will be at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum.
Oh, beautiful.
And let me ask both of you brothers: how the brothers who hang out on the street corners, we know who they are. How are you inviting them in, or how are you going to reach them? Because those brothers probably need this information more than the other ones.
That's a great idea. I can't say how we could actually reach. So some of the organizations that we do partner with do work with some of the brothers on the street. We have a lot of partners that Associated Black Charities works with young men who may been in and out of the system. So we kind of lean on them to, funnel that information to those young brothers to try to get to an event like Men's Night Out.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just add, and if Brother Mark, the other Mark, is listening, I thought that's who that was, Brother Mark C. If the We Are Us and Dr. Bunley, Brother Captain Andrew, they have be perhaps the strongest. They out there every day. Dr. Bunley runs the city men's program, and We Are Us. They out there every Monday. I catch them when I can. But, just knowing who the people that are out there right now who may be influencers. And let me tell you, Brother Carl and Brother Bernard, I was at this breakfast. I was sitting next to Rick Height. Now, Rick Height, many people know him. He was like high in like the policing, but he was the one that was instrumental, and I so appreciate sitting next to him, was instrumental in the violence interrupter, programs, and really, he was like a mentor to, and may we say a rest in peace to Brother Barksdale in Baltimore, Brother Carl. He was like a deputy mayor. He died. He just transitioned at age 53 years old, and actually his funeral is tomorrow. But Brother Barksdale was. I ain't gonna say who absolutely is responsible for the reduction in crime, but Brother Rick Height said that Brother Barksdale is the one that is responsible. I know it's a team effort, of course, but so we lost a giant just recently in Baltimore, but just knowing who the people are, and I appreciate having that conversation with Brother Height. And he might be someone that we have to really talk to, because he was actually was supposed to have that position, or he was offered that position with Mayor Scott, but he was near retirement, et cetera, et cetera. So I just mentioned those people, and if anybody has Brother Mark or any young sharp brothers, because we want to get leaders. I believe, we senior brothers, older brothers, we may not be out there every day in the streets, but some of the young leaders that are out there that these brothers are working with, and I've seen some of them. They bring them up to different events. So if any of them are listening, please bring one or two or three. Let me know however I can help, to facilitate that. But please, if we could get some of the strong leaders that have a testimony, right? That have a testimony of transformation in their life that other people can begin to mimic and say, look, if that person can do it, that person can change. I know that I can change. So that's my outreach here to community brothers that are out here. So thank you for that, Brother Carl.
All right, 26 away from the top of our family. That's Dr. Haki Ammi and also Bernard Sims with us from Baltimore. They're having a men's night out. They're coming up on this Friday. You'd like to speak with them, reach out to us at 800-450-7876. Bernard, I want to go back to the outreach again, because we talked about the brothers on the corner, because my concern is that you're preaching to the choir. The folks are going to show up. The ones who are already committed. Have you went into some of these high schools in Baltimore and talked to some of these young brothers, or got the schools involved so you can go in and have and address some, because that's where it usually starts. A lot of these brothers, I shouldn't say a lot, but some of them are not from two-family homes. They don't have a man in their home to rear them and tell them, what things that men should be doing. In that aspect, have you reached out to any of the schools in Baltimore to get some of these young brothers? Because we see the results of what happens on the streets when schools are let out in Baltimore City. So my question again is, if you made any overtures to the schools?
Yes, we have reached out to some of the schools in Baltimore City and also Baltimore County. We do have a number of educators that do come to the event. And I'm not going to, I won't fully agree to say this just preaching to the choir, because there are new men and new young men who come to the event every year to hear and to learn and to go on. So I think it's really a great opportunity to reach out to those young brothers. But yes, we do reach out to our high school and even our middle school young men to come to Men's Night Out. We also run a program at Associated Black Charities called Young Leaders Program, where we have young people between the ages of 16 and 24 who learn about serving on a nonprofit board. So that's also a resource for us to recruit young men to come to our Men's Night Out as well. On top of that, when Haki was speaking about some of the leaders, yes, we know that there are many leaders. I know Rick Hike very well when I worked for the Mayor's Office of Children, Youth, and Families many years ago. And so it's brothers like, Rick that we reach out to, brothers like, as you say, David Miller, and the list goes on and on. And even Dr. Bunley running the Black Male Initiative through the Mayor's Office. So it's really important for us at Associated Black Charities to stay in contact with these organizations that are actually out there reaching the young brothers in the community, on the streets, and try to get them to events like Men's Night Out, events that Haki may be sponsoring. So it's just really important for us to keep that communication fluid.
Mm-hmm. All right, 23 away from the top of our family. We've got to take a short break. We've got to check the news and traffic and weather in our different cities. When we come back, though, fellas, can we talk about the fact that Dr. David Miller, you mentioned him quite a bit, and he has a rites of passage program in Baltimore for young men. Are you going to take parts of that rites of passage and use it at this event when you have this meeting at the Reginald Lewis Center on Friday? And I'll let you respond to that when we get back. Family, you two can get in on this conversation. This is not a solo thing. Reach out to us at 800-450-7876. And we'll take your phone calls after the news, traffic, and weather. That's next. And Grand Rising family, thanks for waking up with us on this Tuesday morning at 16 minutes away from the top of the hour with our guest, Dr. Haki Ammi and Bernard Sims from Baltimore. They're having a men's night out taking place on Friday. Before we go back there, let me just remind you, coming up later this morning, we're going to hear from attorney Nkechi Taifa, get a reparations update. Also, before attorney Taifa, we're going to meet a panel, actually, of men. They're discussing a groundbreaking book that they wrote designed to help African-American men and boys, kind of like what Brother Haki and Bernard are doing. Before we go to that panel, though, we're going to speak with Coffee Wright out of St. Louis. She's an activist in St. Louis, and she's the one to dedicate a plan to honor African-American soldiers from the Civil War era. Later this week, you're going to hear from author and clinician Chairman, Dr. Jerome E. Fox. Also, industrial psychologist, Dr. Edwin Nichols will join us. So if you are in Baltimore, make sure you keep your radio locked in tight on 1010 WLB. Or if you're in the DMV family, we're on 1450 WOL. All right, fellas, before the break, I was asking you about the rites of passage that David Miller. David Miller is well known in Baltimore, Dr. David Miller. You can give him his props. And he has a rites of passage program for brothers, young men in Baltimore. Are you going to take any elements from that rites of passage to share with the young men that you guys are going to be meeting this weekend?
Well, how I'll answer that, Brother Call, is when I think about rites of passage, really from birth to ancestorship, I think some of the things that men will talk about on Friday will kind of embrace all of those elements of who and what men are. One of the things that I want your listeners to know, this is a multi-generational event. We'll have, young men as young as 12. We'll have some of our elders as well as 60 and up that will be at this event. But this event is about defying the stereotypes that, men can't love one another and they can be the solution to their own issues by working together. Fellowship and joy are tools of resistance in this current political environment. And too often we think that people on the streets are the only ones that need growth, but there are other men who also need growth as well. So Men's Night Out brings out people, across socioeconomic standing and accomplishments and titles. So I think not to say that it will embrace rites of passage, but I think that some of the things that will be talked about will probably embrace some of those things. And to be honest, Haki and I, we both love and respect Brother David Miller. Him and I have been friends since we were teenagers. And so we're looking to do some things next year around Black men and health that we're going to partner on. So it's just going to be a really great opportunity to hear from some really powerful leaders from around Baltimore and really, try to drop some serious knowledge on some young brothers as well as some older brothers. So I think it'll be a really good event that will embrace probably some of those rites of passage initiatives.
And Carl,
13 away from the top now. Go ahead, Dr. Haki.
Certainly, thank you. And, coincidentally, when you mentioned the rights, a few years ago, coincidentally, we're having this at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum. But, this is where a major rites of passage conference was held, and many brothers, mostly brothers, came from all over the country to the Reginald F. Lewis Museum, including Brother Paul Hill, and actually his son is here, Brother Fanon and Sister Navasha. They're doing phenomenal work in the Cherry Hill area. So let me just mention them as well. But here's the thing, Carl. There's a lot of ideas, and I'm sort of like a strategic glue, if you will, connecting some of these dots, in and around the Baltimore area. For instance, one of the things, when we bring Black men up, to, hearing from these brothers, the question becomes, all right, what's next? And ultimately, skill development, life skills, career skills, all of these things have to come into play. And so, for instance, Senator Corey McCray, he has a book out now, where he's talking about, the trade, the career that changed my life. I'm sorry, not getting it, but he talking about vocational skills and apprenticeships, and so understanding that young brother, people are hungry, people need opportunities, people need life skills. Those are some of the conversations that rights, and then initially, but these conversations bring out but depending upon the audience, where the direction we have to go. And I must also add, pushing people into community service work. I still work with my local community association that I grew up in. Although I'm traveling all over Africa, I'm still in the community giving out food once a month. Being service, being productive, serving the people. This is what the Panthers were teaching as well. So That's all I'll just say.
All right, 10 away from the topic. Let me share this with you, with the family, and especially with you two brothers. TSU, Tennessee State University, and Meharry Medical College, they're teaming up and they're offering scholarships where a student would go to TSU for 3 years and then on to Meharry and finish up to become a medical doctor or a dentist in 7 years instead of the traditional 8 years. Now, check this out, fellas. They have enough females already signed up for the program and no black males. So if you know any black male who are high school seniors that want to become a medical doctor or dentist and they have 28 on the ACT and a 3.5 GPA, there's a possible for them to get a free ride to Tennessee State University and on to Meharry. So, I left the information with Kevin. So those of you who are listening, if you got friends and students that are thinking about going to med school or dental school, there's possibly you go to TSU and then on to Meharry, and just call Kevin at the number, our number, and then he'll give you all the information of how to get in touch with that. Because this is surprising me too, because no males have taken up on this. The sisters, and we see this quite a bit, fellas. The sisters, when it comes to professional schools, we talked about what was going on at Howard. More women, like almost 10 to 1. Brothers, especially when it gets worse when it goes into the masters and the professional schools, it's even worse. So, is that an issue that you guys think that needs to be discussed? Because we're going to have these sisters with all professional jobs, and they're going to be looking for mates, and hopefully they'll find a mate who is equal, educationally, at least, or is has the ability to earn the same income. Some of them may have to, quote unquote, and I know this is sort of controversial, marry down, if you will. But is that a consideration when you put this together? Because this is a serious concern in the black community.
Yeah, it's most definitely a concern, Brother Carl. We definitely promote higher education for our young black men. I think the last time I looked at some rates, it might have been around, some statistics might have been around about 40% of black men are completing 4-year college degrees. So we definitely want to try to keep young black men in that pipeline of going to college. But we also realize that every young man is not going to go to college. So there are great apprenticeship programs out there. So we're seeing the apprenticeship programs really come to fruition now, where they're able to offer a substantial living wage for young black men to be able to thrive in. So we want to just make sure we get young black men in the pipelines of either college education or apprenticeship, and really just lift them up to their fullest potential so that they can be successful.
Yeah, that's a great point right there. 7 minutes away from the top there, because occasionally we interview brothers that are inside the joint, brothers who they say they're in captivity, and they figured a way how to listen to this program. I'm not going to mention how, but they got busted once, and the apparatus was taken by the prison officials. But out there in California, they listen to the program, and occasionally once they get out, we have them on. One of them told me that struck me. He says he didn't know that people worked. Where he grew up, people went and had a 9 to 5, because he had never seen that. He had never grown up as a young man. Everybody was in a gang. His parents were in a gang. His grandparents were in a gang. So that was what he wanted to do. What he saw on TV was fantasy. He didn't believe that happened in the black community. And that struck me like, wow, our young brothers need to have, people that they can see that are having these jobs that can compete professionally on any level with anybody in the world. So that's why I'm happy that you guys are doing this.
Sure. To that point, Brother Carl, I'll just raise something that has happened at Associated Black Charities. Just recently, there has been a young man who has started to send part of his money he's earned from prison. He learned about Associated Black Charities. His mother called the office, and she said, my son has heard about your program. He's lived a certain life, but he's turned his life over. He wants to change. So he is actually sending a portion of the money that he's making to Associated Black Charities, because he believes in what we're doing. But not only that, he got 2 of his other friends. He educated them about Associated Black Charities, and now they are also sending dollars to Associated Black Charities to make sure that we can continue doing the work that we're doing. I just think that is so powerful. So we had a brother who was incarcerated for many years, and I know what he did and didn't get behind those walls, and that he was ill-equipped when he came out. So I think the brothers today have more access to information. They want to, make a difference, connect with certain organizations. They want to change their lives. So these are also great opportunities to connect with men on the other side as well.
And Dr. Haki, I know you want to say something.
Well, in terms of what you were saying about Tennessee State, and I think, and I did meet the last year, I believe, not Edwin, but perhaps the president of Baltimore Collegiate School, in terms of, so they would certainly be the most plugged in, in terms of that, taking young people having a high level of college acceptance rates. And so it was pleasing that the Baltimore Collegiate were there last year, and that they certainly will be participating this year. So good to hear that from Brother Bernard.
Family,
Sure.
We've got to get caught up on the latest traffic and weather. Before we do that, again, if you know a young man who's interested in going to med school or dental school, or TSU has a program with Meharry, 2 black colleges, and if they have 28 on the ACT and a 3.5 GPA, it's possible they get a free ride. Just think about it, a free ride. They have enough sisters in the program, but they have no brothers yet. So just pass this along. And if you want more information, just call Kevin at 800-450-7876. As I mentioned, we got to step aside and get caught up in the latest traffic and weather this morning. After that, we'll take some more calls for Dr. Haki and Bernard Sims right here after the traffic that's next. On this Tuesday morning, we are our guest, Dr. Haki Ammi, and also Bernard Sims from Baltimore. They're having a men's night out. This is going to take place this Friday at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum in Baltimore. So before we go, though, I got to ask Bernard about some of the other players who are going to, or the other speakers, I should say, who are going to be there, because we know Dr. Haki is going to be speaking. What about the other folks who are going to be speaking there as well?
So we have our keynote speaker will be Dante Winslow. Dante Winslow is from Baltimore. Dante is an acclaimed musician, author, composer, and trumpeter. He has worked with many folks in the industry, the likes of, Chris Stapleton, Alicia Keys, Jay-Z. He's worked with a number of folks. So he's going to be our keynote speaker for the event. We also have, again, Robert Ginyard, who is a prostate cancer survivor, but an ambassador as well. Robert goes all across the country talking about men's health, but talking about the importance for men to, get their exams and to make sure they are staying on top of their health. We also have, Dee Watkins, who is a world-renowned author. He's a professor here at Hopkins. Dee has worked on numerous films around the country and also written many books. So we have a very solid panel, which will be moderated by Kurt Sykes, who runs another powerful school here in Baltimore called the Seed School that is producing great scholars that are going on to four-year colleges and apprenticeship programs. So we don't want to leave that out. So it's going to be a well-rounded panel with a great keynote and great fellowship. Again, resources, great food. So it'll be a really great time for young men and older men to come and fellowship and connect and hear from some great leaders.
All right. Before we let you fellas go, Dr. Haki, give us the information again, where it's going to be, what time, and is there a phone number or an email address?
Sure. Well, I'll let Bernard do part, but I have the flyer in front of me. But on the 14th, this Friday, doors open at 5:30. We start at 6 at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum in Baltimore, and hopefully everybody knows where the Reginald F. Lewis Museum is by now. Certainly, but Associated Black Charities website, let him give that out. I don't know if they want to give out the phone number as well, but I'll let him give out that information.
Sure. You can go to www.associatedblackcharities.org/men's night. And again, that will be held at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum this Friday, which is located at 830 East Pratt Street in Baltimore, Maryland. And we will begin at 5:30 p.m. So we're really looking forward to seeing the men in the place on Friday. And Brother Carl, thank you so much for this opportunity, Brother Haki. I love you. And so we're just really excited to have men and to see men and watch men grow. So thank you.
And thank you, fellas, for doing that, because you guys are looking out for the younger brothers, and that's great to see. We don't see that happening too much. People just pass each other like ships at sea, where we have to, stop mean mugging each other and get together, because this is a different world than when we grew up in. So thank you, fellas, Bernard and Brother Haki, for doing that for us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Carl, I'm going up to this mountain here in Massachusetts and check the views out. So got to come on back to Maryland, Carl, real soon. All right.
All right. Thanks for the invitation, Dr. Haki. Thank you, Bernard.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother Carl.
Talk
to you. Peace, brother.
4 minutes after the top. Yeah, and I was bringing Sister Coffee Wright. Coffee Wright, Grand Rising. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me.
And Coffee is an activist in St. Louis, family. She's been here before. And Coffee, but you have a plan now. You want to celebrate some of the African-American soldiers from the Civil War era. Tell us why you decided to do this.
Well, I decided to celebrate and honor our colored troops as well as our Buffalo soldiers, because it seems that just plain out that a lot of, especially blacks, are not aware of that part of our history. And so I think that not only do we need to continue to create the awareness, but it gives us something to be proud of. It gives us something to fight for and to understand our right of being here in America.
It's ironic that we have you on today, because this is Veterans Day. And sometimes, a lot of times they don't even think about the veterans. When they think about veterans, they think about, probably Korea that they're the most, they're going back to, or people, but they never think about the civil rights era. They never think about the Buffalo soldiers. They never think about the so-called colored soldiers and what they had to endure fighting for this country and when they came back. So they never think about those brothers.
Yeah.
So I thank you for doing that. Can you address that for us, Coffee?
Yes. Well, last year when I came up to D.C. and I was reciting the Juneteenth national anthem at the White House, and a group of us, we went to the Black History Museum, and it was so beautiful, and I enjoyed it. But some just kept edging me, and it was to the point where it became annoying. In my mind, it's like, you need to go to the Civil War Museum. And I remember that a genealogist had told me that my grandmother's grandparents' name was in the Civil War Museum. So I left the History Museum. I called up a gentleman who happens to be a historian in D.C. by the name of Ed Gant. He had told me, if you need to know anything or want to go anywhere, you need some transportation, feel free to call me. So I said, I'm going to go ahead and call him on that. I called him up. I asked him, do you know where the African American Civil War Museum? He said, sure, you're not far from it at all. He said, as a matter of fact, I'm in the area. If you want to ride there, I'll take you. So he took me there, and I got to look at the 38th Regiment. When I saw my grandmother's, both of her grandfather's name etched in steel on that wall, it just made me feel like throwing a cape on. I said, wow. I looked around, and not only did I see their names, but I saw 229,000 black men's names. And that's when it really hit me that our black men freed us. When people ask, how did you get free? The first thing most people say, well, Abraham Lincoln freed us. Abraham Lincoln gave us the opportunity to free ourselves. When the North was losing the Civil War against the South, and they really didn't have a choice. And Abraham Lincoln wanted to win that war, of course, and he was from the North. And so after Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, even John Brown, the white guy, when all of them were Martin Delany, they continued to pressure Abraham Lincoln and try to convince him to let the so-called colored folks, the enslaved black men, as well as the free black men, why don't you let them in the war and help you win? But when he finally realized he had no chance of winning that war, and he gave us the opportunity, our black men stepped up. They stepped up. They could have said, no, master, no, we're going to keep working. We're going to keep picking that cotton and let you keep raping our women and children and hanging us. And no, they said, I'm going for it. I'm going for what I know. And they went for what they know, 229,000. Then over 400 black women pretended to be black men, and they joined and said, Mama, watch the kids. I'm going with him. And so for our people to have that kind of strength and took advantage of that opportunity so we could be free. So we didn't have to do what they did and endure the hardship and the pain and the disrespect and you know, so we didn't have to. That's how we got free. So we have to see that we are not each other's enemies. As you say, we can't be mean mugging each other because we all, you know, they say black folks can't come together. Hey, we came together. And not only did we come together, but we came together, showed up, and showed out. So when I got back to St. Louis, I realized I had some land, been having it since the 90s. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna bring that monument. I'm gonna bring that, maybe not that particular monument, but that history back to St. Louis, because they didn't teach us that in the public schools. They decided the curriculum, and it never told us that our ancestors freed us. So I said, I'm taking my land, and I'm turning it into the colored troops, because that's what they called the black men and women, the colored troops, because black people couldn't join the army before. So these troops were colored because they called us colored folks. I'm going to turn it into the colored troops. But then I read up, and I remembered the baddest of the colored troops, the toughest, the best, were the Buffalo Soldiers. Those are the ones that became the Buffalo Soldiers. So I said it's going to be the colored troops, Buffalo Soldiers, 13th Amendment Park. And I had to throw that 13th Amendment in because that was the nail in the coffin that really, you know, why Lincoln was assassinated. And that's horrible. But also the 13th Amendment, when it ratified December 6, 1865, that said no, slavery has to be abolished throughout the entire United States. Never again, only in prison, which is unfortunate, but it's legal to be a slave in prison. And I hate that. But the 13th Amendment abandoned and abolished slavery everywhere in the United States. And we have to understand, Mr. Nelson, that this is America. It was not the United States of America. It was America. And what made it become the United States was when our black men won the war. When we helped them to win the war, change the entire trajectory, then that is how the state America became united. And that was what Lincoln wanted, was to put all the states, make all the territories part of America, which became the United States. And so,
right.
And I didn't name it the copyright part.
Copyright. Let me say this, Dr. Copyright. You're teaching this morning, sister. You are absolutely teaching. The stuff that you just said, they never taught this in school. You don't go through school. They didn't tell us about the colored soldiers or the Buffalo Soldiers. When we heard about the Buffalo Soldiers were growing, we probably heard a song by Bob Marley. What's he talking about, Buffalo Soldiers? And he's a reggae singer. What does he know about Buffalo Soldiers? And then we start doing some research. It's talking about our folks. You know, the Buffalo Soldiers it's served in the army after the Civil War. But let me ask you this, though, Dr. Coffee, right? Did you investigate why these brothers went to fight for America, knowing how they were treated? You mentioned we're still, you know, straight out discrimination, and some of them, some areas still enslaved, and Jim Crow was going on, and all these things that are against us. Yet they went and fought for this country. Did you ever figure that out? Why they did it?
You know, after the Civil War, you're speaking of,
right?
Well, you know, a lot of them, they thought it was an opportunity. You know, we sure didn't. When they freed us, they didn't give us anything. Some of them even some of the masters took the clothes off our back. Some people were free and had to give up the shoes and the clothes that they owned. So, you know, after the Civil War, when they freed us, or when we freed ourselves, should I say, after that happened, they gave when the Homestead Act came in. Remember, they gave 127 acres to everybody. That's what was so appealing to the Germans and everyone else. Come to the United States of America, you get 127 acres free land. Just build on it. But if you're black, you can't have nothing. Everybody but the colored folk. You know, just like the song they had out. Everybody have a flag but the Coons. #1 hit song in the country. And Marcus Garvey said, yeah, they right, but we got to do something about that. So then he created the Pan-African flag and said we're going to have our own, red, black, and green. So we've always been mistreated, neglected, left out, and we built this country. But our brothers, they go into the military, our sisters go into the military thinking a better opportunity. And most of them find that there's so much discrimination in there. When you come back to America, you don't get the same benefits. They couldn't get the GI Bill when they come back from Vietnam. They have to go back to the projects where they came from or wherever you live in. And the white boys, they come back from Vietnam and they get brand new homes built, brand new communities, all the benefits, but no GI Bill, no VA loan. Banks wouldn't even give you a loan. And so, we've never been treated fair. So I said, this is not going to be the Coffee Wright Park. It's not even going to be named after my ancestors, but it's going to be the